Hey everyone, how's it going? Chris Gildart here, and I'm not going to lie, I haven't played much of Samurai Warriors 3. I've only played maybe a couple of stages on the Wii, and then I moved on to, all these other games. So Samurai Warriors 3 is going to be my first Blind Warriors review.
Some people might say that my review of Samurai Warriors Spirit of Sanada was blind as well, but I had an idea of the mechanics that were in place from Samurai Warriors 4. I would honestly consider this to be my first truly blind review of a Warriors game. I owned this game for quite some time before I bought a Wii U, so I knew about Samurai Warriors 3 but just never played it. I also didn't really want to downgrade my graphics at the time. So my only experience with Samurai Warriors 3 has been through Warriors Orochi 3. But I guess I should say whether or not I had a good time with this title. The community almost considers this entry to be the Dynasty Warriors 6 of the franchise, and it's about time I find out if that's the truth with the first Pro. One of the biggest things I enjoy about this entry is the design. Everything about it is just great. Characters are the best they've ever looked, and they almost seem to have worked into that look that would be used for the rest of the series. And I know there's only one more entry so far in Samurai Warriors, but they didn't change too much after this. Some of the character design changes work really well. Things like Kanetsugu having a more broad facial shape. Mitsunari's, hair thing. Toshiie looks much better in this entry than in the last, and I gotta say, Keiji's makeup is on point.
I think I could pull this off.
And it's not just the character design that I think is top-notch, the level design is just as well done. Each stage feels well thought out, like the placement of each enemy officer to match the curves and paths of the land. While playing, I never got the feeling like the game was just thrown together. The stages are so well organized that they might be the most memorable in the series. Even though I'm only getting around to playing this now, it feels so familiar thanks to my time with Warriors Orochi 3, but it's different. The stages are more colorful and bright. I can actually see the detail more in this game than in Warriors Orochi 3. So far, so good. God! Well, it was good while it lasted. But there's a reason you haven't seen any HD footage so far. That's because this game is Wii exclusive. I don't know why Koei thought it'd be a good idea to release one of their most popular games on a console people don't associate the said series with. We only saw portable Warriors ventures in the land of Nintendo. This decision seems so uneducated. It's almost like they were trying to decide what to release it on and someone said,
"Oh hey, that Nintendo Wii there is pretty popular. We should release this game only on that one console."
Like we didn't even get an Extreme Legends or Empires release on PS3, 360, or even the Wii. And I don't know if it's because of the Wii's hardware or if it's because the Wii U is trying too hard to do backwards compatibility, but this game seems to run terribly. I imagine it's the Wii hardware because the Wii U is actually really good at playing Wii games as originally intended. So how did this pass play testing? Lag galore and jittery visuals make for a poor experience. I can understand why some people just can't play this game. Pro! One cool thing about Samurai Warriors games is the really fun extra modes to play aside from story and free modes. Samurai Warriors 1 had a really good survival mode. Samurai Warriors 2 had Sugoroku. This time, we get Murasame Castle, a mode based off of a Famicom game that never made its way to the West. I don't know about you, but that is so cool. You can take any character you like into the castle and help Takamaru fight the demon Murasame. You do not take on regular troops and officers, but demons. What makes them different is that normal attacks do not deal as much damage, nor do they stagger as much. What you have to do is use your charge attacks and Musou. This leads to a different mindset while making your way through the challenges set out in each stage. There can also be traps laid on the map, things like bombs, poisonous water, and air, or even balls of electricity. Many of these traps can be dealt with in different ways. The bombs can be set off without damage to you by running slightly close to them and running away. The poisonous air is usually caused by a plant, while the water can usually be avoided by finding a path or riding over it with a horse. While the balls can be attacked and split into smaller balls which can deal damage to enemies. As well, hidden away in every stage are 3 Tanuki statues that you have to destroy to release them. By releasing enough of them, you can gain rewards like additional missions, materials, and horses like Matsukaze. But the coolest reward in my opinion is unlocking Takamaru for use in free mode. This is awesome because there is a different ending for Murasame Castle if you beat the final stage with Takamaru. And to do that, you're going to want to grind out some levels in free mode. All in all, probably one of the better things to come out of the Wii version. God! And there it is. Yeah, the cat's out of the bag. Yes, the Wii version. Just like every other release, we here in the West never got to see anything other than this version of the game. The most important one being the Extreme Legends styled expansion Sengoku Musou 3 Z for PS3. A PS3 release could have helped this title reach more of the community. Maybe the fanbase wouldn't consider this entry the Dynasty Warriors 6 of the series if they had the opportunity to play a more optimized version of the game. While playing the PS3 version, not only do I think the visuals look so much better, I also get the feeling that this is the version that's meant for the fans. While playing the Wii version, I just felt like it was a piss poor port. The first Samurai Warriors ran better on the Xbox, a console that was definitely not owned by the majority of the community, than this entry runs on the Wii. Not only that, Japan got an exclusive version of Sengoku Musou 3Z on the PSP. This is essentially the PS3 version but on the go. From what I can tell, this is the full experience on the PSP. Even if this was all we got in the West, it'd be much better than being left on the Wii. Let me also mention that Japan got an Empires release too, and I can't play too much of it either, because unlike Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires, this seems very complicated, and I can't tell what the hell I'm doing. This might be one of the coolest things to be included in an Empires title, and I can't play it because I can't read Japanese. So I'm left in the dark with what could have been my favorite Empires title in the entire franchise. And I'm going to say it like I say about all of these games left in Japan. Koei, you could have just taken the English assets from the Wii version and put them on the PS3 version. To be honest, even if all we got was the vanilla version on the PS3, we'd at least have a chance to play it. But then I'd also be complaining about how we didn't get the expansion content and still that we didn't get an Empires release. There are a few things that I have to say Samurai Warriors 3 did do to benefit the entire franchise. Let's talk about materials. Rather than earning skills and abilities for each character, Samurai Warriors 3 gives you equipable items that have several different abilities to increase your stats and make your character more resilient on the battlefield. These abilities can be grown by using materials both dropped by officers and by dropping weapons and equipment gained in battle. Each piece of equipment has a limit to how many times it can be upgraded, leading you to actually holding on to certain pieces depending on the situation. The other really cool thing is the customization of character color palettes. Though it's disappointing that there are no alternative costumes, being able to choose the color scheme of the characters is pretty neat. Once you've completed a character's story, you can then unlock this ability. If you have a favorite color, you can actually make all of the characters that color. Or if you want someone to look a little bit different, that's something you can do as well. I wish more Warriors titles had this option. I also want to say that my time spent with the Wii version led me to the opinion that this is some of the best voice acting I've heard from Samurai Warriors. Many of the voices seem to have been cast to match the characters. I mean, there are some weird ones, but for the most part, you can get used to them. All in all, Samurai Warriors 3 did a lot to lead this series into the formula we love. God! Though it seems like this entry adds a lot to the series, it does seem like there were a lot of choices that keep it from being held as a high point in the Samurai Warriors history. First off, custom characters have been slightly improved but still lack a lot of customization. I didn't really play much with the custom characters in this entry, but at least you can equip your character with a larger selection of weapons. And even though they kind of have a story mode for the characters, it seems so lackluster because your character doesn't interact with anyone. You're just playing through stages that might as well be a glorified free mode. Speaking of free mode, Samurai Warriors 3 has an increased number of characters that are only available for use outside of story mode. I absolutely hate this because I don't get to use these characters unless I go out of my way to do so. By giving the characters a story, you give the player more to do. You could have even reused a lot of the stages between these characters. It wouldn't have been that difficult to add them to the story. And one of the most disappointing things is that there is no replacement for Murasame Castle in the PS3 version. Well, there is one mode, but again, I can't understand anything because I don't read Japanese. At least if they repurposed Murasame Castle into just ridding the land of demons, I'd be able to have some more fun with the obviously superior version. But all I can do is play story and free mode without getting lost thanks to this language barrier. It's no surprise that Samurai Warriors 3 is held in such a low regard among the community. Koei did so little to help this entry over in the West. It's almost like they recognized the poor sales on the Wii and decided not to bother with the Western PS3 release. If they localized Sengoku Musou 3Z as well as Empires, I think the North American and European audience would have had a better opinion of this release. Just like the lack of 360 release on Dynasty Warriors 5, PSP releases of all the full games, and not releasing the additional content of Dynasty Warriors 6 6 on PS3 and Xbox 360, these moves, or lack thereof, are some of the laziest aspects of Koei Tecmo's attitude towards the West. I don't understand why they thought we wouldn't want this. They supported Dynasty Warriors 6 more than they should have, considering the community's disdain for that entry. Why wouldn't they support something else during that same time? This is objectively better than Dynasty Warriors 6, and you can argue that it still holds a lot of the spirit that the series is known for. That's more than you can say of the 6th entry of Dynasty Warriors. I have to admit that I still had some fun with this entry. Even though I mostly played the PS3 version thanks to the lack of region locking, I can't give that point to Koei. There's no way for me to fully enjoy this entry because the Wii version just underperforms and I can't understand Japanese, so there's no way for me to get everything out of the PS3 version of Zed or Empires. That's why Samurai Warriors 3 gets a 6 out of 10. I do think this is some of the best design the series has ever had. Every stage feels familiar and well thought out, with enemy placement and structure. Character designs are some of the most memorable, even though I never played this entry. Murasame Castle was an awesome addition to the Wii version, and making Takamaru playable was an even greater decision. Plus, this entry did so many things that were carried on to the next. Things like gaining materials to upgrade your weapons, equipment, and even your character. But Koei did so little to help this entry in the West. Not releasing the better optimized versions outside of Japan is what brings it down the most, but also removing more characters from the story, not bringing back the full roster, and the Wii's inability to play this game without lag or stutter are some of the worst disappointing aspects of Samurai Warriors 3. To be honest, if they re-release Samurai Warriors 3 on PS4 or even the Switch, I would definitely buy it. I would revisit this entry if I could have a better performing version in English. Even just English text. But then I'd criticize the lack of voice acting when those assets were already available. At least we got it at all. If you own a Wii U or a Wii, don't avoid this title, but don't go into it thinking it's as good as the others. Anyways, everyone, that's my review of Samurai Warriors 3. I really did enjoy my time with it, but Koei was just so lazy with this entry in the series. What are your thoughts on Samurai Warriors 3? Did you enjoy it more than me? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. There's still one more review in this series of Musou videos. If you'd like to know what I'm up to, you can check out my social medias in the description, and I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support the channel. I'd like to thank my one and only Patreon, Brian Scully. Thanks again to everybody for watching, and I will see you all down in the comments.